Welcome to The Courage Effect. I'm Suzanne Weller, and this is a show about growth and unleashing what's possible. You'll hear inspiring stories about what courage looks like, how we navigate what's getting in our way, and the opportunities that surface when we choose courage over comfort. Let's get started. Hi, everybody. This is Suzanne. Welcome to The Courage Effect. My guest today is Christine Arylo. Christine is a transformational leadership advisor, social impact entrepreneur, wisdom teacher, and four-time author working with conscious humans to make shift happen in the lives they lead, the work they do, and the world they live in. She combines her corporate and entrepreneurial experience with wisdom study in feminine power, yogic science, and human consciousness to guide others in being professionally successful, internally empowered, and personally sustainable. Christine is the host of the popular Feminine Power Time podcast, and her latest book is called Overwhelmed and Over It. Embrace your power to stay centered and sustained in a chaotic world. Christine, welcome to The Courage Effect.
Suzanne, thanks for inviting me, and hello to everyone. I'm so excited to jump into this conversation today and see what bites of wisdom come forth for all of us.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. And you have had a big impact on me and how I've operated over the past, I think 4 or 5 years with your work and just experiencing you and learning from you. Because one of the things that is really relevant for me, and I know also for most people out there, is that we live in a culture that doesn't just create burnout, but is essentially built on burnout. And we as women, I think, are particularly brilliant at burning ourselves out and not necessarily waking up to some of those underlying systems and recognizing that what we're doing is pretty much unsustainable. So I'd love for you to talk a little bit about how do we wake up to these larger systematic forces, and how do we start to make choices for us?
Such a big question. And that's one that I started asking all the way back in 2006 when I started to first get the something is not right here. As smart as we are, as hard as we work, how could it be that this is true for all humans, but I'll speak specifically to women, we're more burned out, less happy. Why haven't we cracked the nut, so to speak? And that set me on now it's been a 15-year almost research experiment of seeking to get to the root of what's here. And one of the things that I realized in my research was how much we as women and humans think it's our fault. There's something right that we're not doing right. If I just could maintain work-life balance, or if I could get time management right, or maybe if my stress levels, I could manage that, or if I could just get to 6 figures as an entrepreneur, if I could just get that title, it all would be okay. And it doesn't actually work that way. And so one thing I just want to say to everybody to start off the bat here is it's not your fault if you haven't gotten to well, first of all, it's not work-life balance because that's BS and it doesn't actually work. But to that place where we feel like we can, be in our expression in our career and going for what we desire, the impact we want to make, and keep our well-being and nourish our relationships. And so I feel like this generation of human, it's part of our advocacy. It's part of our how do we do that? And so the first thing that everyone needs to know, in addition to it's not your fault, is that the strategies that we've been given to try and remedy this are not adequate for the times that we live in. So that's number one, unless you just want to keep, I could say treading water until the tsunami comes and you go under. So you can't just keep applying life hacks and time management apps and all of that. It'll keep you treading water, but eventually you're going to go under. 2 is that the systems that we work and live in are actually, as you said, Suzanne, it's built for burnout. And so you can't win at that game, which means you have to create a different game. And this is the piece that's exciting to me. And I know it's exciting to Suzanne. Maybe we'll talk about harmonic defiance a little later. Is that we actually do have the power because humans created the systems. We created the economic system, the education system, it's all human made. And which means we can create a different reality, but not if we can't see first inside of ourselves, how we ourselves have latched on to all of the things that keep us working too hard and giving too much and the deeper things that are going on. So I always say the first step is self-awareness. And that's going to sound super personal growthy, pedantic, blah, blah, blah. But it really is like, it's be the change you wish to see in the world. And part of it is like one very practical part is starting to look around at our lives and say, what is actually not sustainable? And then getting honest about that and getting real about that instead of just trying to keep making it 10% better. So I'll pause there because there's lots more, but that's like, that piece is like being that self-honesty and that self-awareness. That's step number one.
Well, and you've interviewed so many people, and particularly women too, that have that aha moment, right? Like realizing I am in this place that is not necessarily sustainable and I don't want to be here anymore. Is there a pattern that you've seen in these interviews of what is potentially waking these women up?
Yeah, well, one of them is I call it the superwoman sob. But it can be the super being sob. So that's those, Suzanne and I were both raising our head. It's when the pressure gets so much that you just can't handle it anymore. And the tears just start to roll down your face. And that is usually, I don't know why we're like this as humans. We have to kind of get to like we're in a vice, before we say, okay, mercy, like, let's make a change.
Yeah, uncle.
Right? Yeah. Uncle. It's like that game Mercy, you used to play in 4th grade. It's like, yeah, uncle. And so I don't know why we're built like this as humans, but I know for me, I've made a lot of changes in my career, changes in my lifestyle, changes in my business structure as an entrepreneur, because I would get to that no more moment. And it usually had a superwoman sob connected to it. And if I listen, this is the great thing about the crying. Now I just make myself cry. Like I actually will put myself into a superwoman sob just to get the pressure out. Mm-hmm. But if you listen after that sobbing moment and you get quiet, you'll actually hear your inner wisdom speak to you. And if you will listen in that moment, and if you're not really connected into that part of yourself, that's a great place to work with a coach or someone who could help you kind of get to like, what's your truth under there. And it'll usually give you a path to like, okay, this is what's not working. And then that opens up, once you say this is not working, I don't want to repeat it, that's when the liberation becomes possible. And so a lot of what I see why women don't and why humans don't get out of what I call the burnout matrix is because they're actually not willing to do the self-reflection and make the changes that oftentimes are just really about aligning. When I say align to your design.
Yeah.
What your purpose is, how you're meant to work. It's like really getting clear on that. And because it takes courage, which is why we're here today. It takes courage to do things differently. Especially if it's different than what everybody else around you is doing.
Yeah. And I love align to your design because it's so easy even when we have these conversations, we kind of complain and moan about it with each other, but we don't necessarily give each other true empowerment or ourselves when we're in that moment. I've been there too. I've been there a couple of times. And for me, it's been really wonderful to have a partner. I mean, my husband has been a really good mirror for me just to, say, okay, you're at a point where I don't know if this is healthy. So, but we can't always rely on other people to do that for us.
No, and I can remember several moments when I changed direction and watching my friends who decided to continue, like as an entrepreneur, they decided to continue building their businesses and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And created what I call the beast model, which they reached their 7 figures, all right. But these are the women who still call me and say, Christine, if I keep working this way, I'm going to die. Christine, if I keep working this way, it's not sustainable. I can't keep doing it. And then what do they do? Because they've built the beast. And this happens for the women I've coached and people I've coached that are inside of as an employee. They design lifestyles. So they have 3 kids in private school. They have 2 houses. They can't get out of it without getting out of it. So then, we talk about the interference and what's going on. They say, Christine, tell me the truth. I'm like, do you want the truth? And they always say yes. But do they always, and we're like this as humans, because it takes time. It's not like a switch, but, just one of my best friends just did this like 2 weeks ago. And I said to her, you've been talking to me about this for a decade. And yeah, you've made your 7 figures. But when your CEO tells your CFO says you have to make $30,000 more again per month to make it sustainable, you got to look at what's called founder shadow in your business and see where that piece is. And then the life design part, I get that. I didn't want to sell when I finished my employee job and started becoming a consultant. I didn't change my income change, but I didn't change my lifestyle. So I didn't want to, give up my house in the Bay Area, and I didn't want to give up my BMW, and so I started my business, created debt, because you got to create it from somewhere. It would have been wiser to sell the house and, get a VW, which eventually I did. But that was my own fear, ego, status, just unconscious stuff I didn't even know was in there. And so, but my path is different, right? Suzanne, your path is different. We're all have different paths. And I think that's the piece as we're going to go to break here in a minute, but just thinking about what is not in alignment with your design. And it's kind of like if you're out of whack in your spine, and you got to go to the chiropractor or something to get an adjustment. It's like, where's your life? Give me an adjustment before you end up calling, me and Suzanne or someone like us on the phone and say, if I keep working this way, I'm going to die.
Yeah. And it's just so scary that it gets to that point. I mean, and so much of it is the wake up call of your body starting to fail you, right? Or mm-hmm. seeing it happen to other people in your life. I mean, that's something that has been, I've had a lot of friends that have had serious illnesses over the past couple of years. And it definitely gives me pause to think, okay, what is causing this in their lives? I mean, obviously certain things are beyond our control, but what is not? Because we have that ego and that fear that we just feel like we have to keep propelling ourselves forward.
I am a card-carrying member in the Recovering Achievers Club and the Impatience Club. And I want to help the world be a better place. And this is why, I remember the day I said, if I keep working this way and I keep running this kind of business, I'm not going to make it. And I had to get really real about that with myself. And I slimmed down my business while my friends were building their business. And then 2020 happened, and I got through the pandemic because I didn't have all the overhead. And so it's but we just got to be real. Where are those pressure points at is where we start. And looking at them in our work, our relationships, our lifestyle, our health, all of it, where are those pressure points where it's out of whack? And then you can start to unpack it. And that's when the freedom comes.
Okay. Well, this is the perfect time for a break, because I really want to talk about when you reach those no more points, how do you start uncovering that freedom and then unleashing that success on the other side? So we will be right back. You're listening to The Courage Effect. Thanks for being here. Job search doesn't have to be painful. Wouldn't it be great if you had someone to guide you through your job search or career exploration? Since 2013, Plum Coaching has provided job search, career coaching, resume, and LinkedIn profile expertise to clients around the world. Plum's coaches are former recruiters who have more than 15 years experience in every type of industry, including tech, real estate, construction, manufacturing, and nonprofit. Their coaches take what they know about hiring and put it in service to their clients. If job search is a challenge, or if you're exploring a new career direction, Plum is here to help. They'll work with you to turn what feels like a slog into an adventure. Visit plumseattle.com for details and information on their services. Maybe it's time for a partner like Plum.
Have something important to say? Want to help improve our world? Need to promote your business uniquely and effectively? KKNW is the answer. Our staff helps broadcasters and podcasters create professional sounding audio. Bring your talent and let our experts help you craft a radio show or podcast that best delivers your message. Learn more at 1150kknw.com. That's 1150kknw.com. KKNW, talk variety that's live and local. Alternative Talk 1150, the talk of the sound.
Welcome back to The Courage Effect. This is Suzanne, and I am in conversation with Christine Arylo. We are talking about getting out of burnout, or at least, getting to a point of recognizing when you are not sustainable as far as how you're living, how you're working. And Christine, I'd love to hear from you a little bit more about when we get to that, that point of recognizing the no more point, as you had called it. How do we better understand what's the root cause of it?
Yeah. So I love getting to the roots because it's kind of like blackberry. So think about blackberry. Anyone who've ever had it in your garden, if you just keep chopping off the leaves and you don't pull out the root ball, that sucker's just coming back and then
lives forever
all over the place. And so that is my work in the world, is to get to the roots of it. And I love that we're here on the Courage Effect, because one of the reasons we haven't got out of this is that we're not really willing to go deeper into the heart, into the feeling, into the emotion of why we make choices that lead us down this path of the burnout matrix and the overwhelm and the sacrifice. And this just doesn't show up in our work. It shows up in our relationships. It shows up in our family. Like it's everywhere. And so when I was doing the research, when I got to the heart of it, and the word courage, which I'm sure you know this, Suzanne, the root of it is heart in French. And you all may or may not know this, that 1 in 3 women are dying of heart disease. That used to be 1 in 4. And I always say it's not because we love French fries, it's because of the pressure that's on us. One of the roots I realized was, you've heard those 7 words, it's better to give than receive, right? We've all heard that. Sounds like a very harmless, one of those sayings, right? But if you think about that, it's better to give than receive. So if that's how we live, then we're always going to give more and not receive enough. We're like a totally receiving, I don't even know. It's like we're before kindergarten. Like we all really kind of suck at it. So if you just shift that to it's better to give and receive, that starts to change and create a harmony. So you have to really look at where and how you overgive to work, to projects, to people, to relationships. Really, we hardly ever do that for ourselves, other than if we're in excess and we're overindulging, which is one of the over. So what I realized were there were these kind of 13 overgiving patterns that are present in us as humans. This is kind of my superpower. Take a big thing like overwhelm and break it down into the 13 different ways that this shows up for you. So I don't know if you want to mention them, Suzanne. I know, Suzanne, you have the book opened if you wanted to read a couple of them, and everyone can just kind of listen in to if any of these.
Yeah, I would love that. I mean, so a few of these that really stand out for me, over connecting. I mean, that's one for me because connection is such an important part of how I thrive. But at the same time, it's so easy for me to over index and to go where I'm giving too much and I'm spending too much time connecting with people. Overdoing, over efforting, overindulging. So sometimes, just numbing a little bit, which I know that we all probably did a little bit too much during the pandemic. And over perfecting. That's another one that is a bit of an Achilles heel for me.
Yeah, that over perfecting one, that will make you give 110% when 70% is needed. And then I always say most of us, our 100% is most people's 130%. So I don't even know what percent we're giving, but way more percent than is actually needed. And for me, the over often that shows up is overextending. And so overextending is where you're giving more time, more money, more resources than you actually have to give. And then you bankrupt yourself. Basically, all of these bankrupt you, body, mind, heart, and spirit. Sometimes financially. I mean, that can happen, especially in many different ways. And so what you want to do with these overs, and they're in the book, but there is a quiz people can take at amiovergiving.com if you want to get a sense of these. The key was to start to become aware of when emotionally, you can feel it emotionally, and you can feel it physically in your body, or you feel it in how you're showing up in relationship. That it's a sign of oh, I'm over-giving in this way and under-receiving the support, time, energy that I need. This is key number 1 of getting out of burnout, is understanding what your signs are of your own burnout cycle and your own overgiving cycle. So Suzanne, for you, what are the signs emotionally and or physically or mentally, so body, mind, heart, spirit, that you're overgiving or sliding into burnout?
I mean, physically, I get creaks in my neck, and I need to. I get migraines. I mean, like these are things that actually show up, whereas sometimes they happen, but they happen more regularly. And it's also a matter of, I recognize that I'm not spending as much time with the people in my life that I really want to be. So sometimes I'm spreading myself too thinly, and it's really sacrificing quality time with loved ones.
And so for me, I get cranky, and my assistant and or Noah starts to ask me, "How you doing today, Christine? How you doing today?" I'm like, "Uh-oh, I'm scaring my staff and my partner." And I feel like I have what's called passion burnout. And where I love what I do, but I've given so much to everyone else, and all I want to do is be a girl and eat pizza, drink red wine, and party all the time. That's what I want to do, because I don't feel like I'm getting what I need, right? So this is why it's not about work-life balance. Yeah. It's not even about balance. I would say balance is something you want to feel within yourself, and you want to keep yourself balanced by giving and receiving in harmony. And so when you get out of harmony, when you feel the signs mentally, like if you're whatever that might be, like some people, they think a lot, like they overfocus on the future. And so you're always trying to plan ahead. That's a sign. That's a mental sign, emotional and physical. And then you say to yourself, you take a beat, take a breath, you pause and be like, I'm sliding into burnout, or I'm overgiving here. And in one practice you can do is you can ask, what would enough look like in any situation? What would enough look like? Or you ask the very simple inquiry, what do I need to receive? I ask that question every morning. It's part of my morning practice, because if I ask that, like to you all right now, what do you need to receive today?
Yeah.
So many people look at me like, what do you mean? I've never asked myself that question before. And I'm like, we don't even know what we need. When I asked myself today what I needed, it was like this, like almost like I needed a jump start. Like that's what I needed to feel, like a jump start. And I actually, Monday mornings are my slow start Mondays. And I have a massage scheduled who schedules massages on Mondays. People who do slow start Mondays schedule on Mondays. So I'm curious for you, Suzanne, what do you need to receive today?
I'm actually going to acupuncture later today. So that's something that is just physically allowing myself to be resting. So because I feel like now that summer's come, I've started to schedule and I've been traveling quite a bit. So this is really a day for, just settling a bit. Yeah.
And you have to relax in order to receive. That's the interesting thing. You can't actually receive unless you're relaxed. So, I think the word I would give everyone is harmony, and noticing when you're in harmony or out of harmony, or when things are in harmony or out of harmony. And then you got to take a pause and tune in with yourself. And that's why our morning practices are so important. Tune in every day with yourself, so you know when you're out of alignment and how to get back in.
And having the courage to actually do something about it and to make it happen. Because I think a lot of the time we sort of slough it off, right? Like, oh, wouldn't that be nice? And we're afraid to ask for what we need.
Yeah. Yeah. And then for good reason. I mean, there's also, in addition to the 13 overs, there's 10 different ways we push away support. And there's real reasons. I mean, many of us, didn't have support when we needed it. So we get imprinted. So this is like part of the key is we have these unconscious imprints we have no idea are running you. And basically the wisdom is real clear. If you can't change what you can't see. So what we're talking about here is giving you language to something that's like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm burned out, I'm busy. It's like, you just keep saying it over and over again. But when you can break it down and see it, it's like, oh, that's connected to that. And is that real? Or am I making up this deadline? Am I making up, over caretaking is a big one, especially for women. And they're like just pouring their energy into other people. And they just need to pull that energy back and let people have the dignity of their process. We have to watch about that as coaches all the time. So, and then I think the other thing I just want to say that this is really is to me is activism, because our the younger generations, especially the young women, they are so burned out, and like there's literally a name, Crispies. That's what college admissions people call the high school students when they come into college and they're already burned out.
Wow.
From high school. So, for all of the parents out there in the world, and just like, this isn't just like, oh, let me take care of myself, self-care. This is like a fundamental shift in how we are. And we can't create a better working world if we ourselves aren't actually conscious of what that looks like. We need a harmonic defiance, Suzanne, don't you think?
Please.
Suzanne loves the word harmonic. Suzanne and I have secret capes. Beware.
Talk to me about the activism of harmonic defiance.
Okay. So if we were to boil down where your power is and what that looks like, when I was writing this book and doing this research, I just realized how many of us didn't even realize the choices that we could change. And people just think they can't change them. And they're from small ones to medium-sized ones to big ones. And so the power is called, I got to put my glasses on, I'm going to read it from the book here, the superpower of harmonic defiance. Everyone has it. So here is the definition. Harmonic defiance is choosing to defy the systems and realities that do not work for you, not by ranting and raging, but by doing things differently in wise ways that cultivate harmony. Harmonic defiance is choosing to proactively create new realities by how you design your life, lead within your organization, community, and family, and show up in your relationships. Now, here's the key. You don't ask for permission. You just choose what is in harmony, and you do it. Nice. And that's where the courage comes in, because it's going to make you shake in your boots a bit, because you're going against your own ingrained imprints and the systemic ones. They're like, oh, just be happy that you only have to work 4 days a week and you can work 1 day from home. Or, it's like whatever it might be like, no, but let's redesign this as entrepreneurs too. It's like, we're the ones, but it takes a lot of courage and it takes each other. So Suzanne, I'm so happy that you bring us together for this conversation and that you're giving your gifts. It's so good to see you so radiant and shining and using your voice. So I always say it's our voices and our choices that create the culture we live in.
Well, thank you for laying so much important groundwork and for sharing it. I mean, your book, and every time, I watch you online or I go to your website, there's so many practical approaches to this. And that's what's so wonderful, is that it's not just about the ideas and recognizing it, but it's the steps to actually get out of it. So thank you for all of that, Christine.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone. It's so good being with you today.
So as we wrap, I just want to go over a few things. So we live in a world where the systems basically are built for burnout. How do we actually recognize when we are out of alignment with our own design, and how can we actually channel that harmonic defiance and really do something about it ourselves? So taking action. Christine, wonderful to see you. Do you want to give a quick shout out to your website, how people can get in touch with you?
Oh, yes. Come to my website, Christine Arylo, and my last name is Arylo, or check out the podcast Feminine Power Time on your app.
Fantastic. And we'll have all of this linked on the Courage Effect website. Thank you for a wonderful conversation. I feel empowered. I hope that all of you do as well. Have a wonderful day. Stay courageous.